Hi, and welcome to this demo where we're going to run through the 310.2 VCF Skip Level Tool. There are three separate parts to this demo and also an addendum. Each part is between 10 to 15 minutes long. For the agenda, during part 1, I'm going to cover where to get the tool from, and then I'll whiteboard two different scenarios covering an online scenario and an offline where you're in a secure environment and have restricted access. In part 2, I'll demonstrate the preparation phases for the skip tool. So I'll go through a lot of the switches and you can see the output and exactly how they work. And then in part 3, I'll demonstrate the actual upgrade and we'll go through the UIs and you can see what goes on during the upgrade process. Finally, part 4 will serve as an addendum, and as new versions of the skip tool are released or new functions, I'll add that information into here. Before we begin, customers and partners must engage Dell support for skip level upgrades on VCF VxRail. Right, so part 1. This is approximately 10 minutes long. Let's first cover where to download the tool from. So downloading the skip level tool. This is from VMware site. We'll go to downloads and then VMware Cloud Foundation, drivers and tools, and then here I'm going to select 3.10 and we can see here 3.10.2 and there we have under drivers and tools the skip tool. There is a difference to the previous version, so there won't be a new tool for every target version. It'll be the one tool this time, and one of the big changes is the command line does ask you the source version you're on and the target version you want to go to. So I've just started downloading that now. Let's start going through the use cases. So firstly we'll go through an online environment and then we'll cover the offline secure or dark site. Right, so we can see our VCF VxRail system on the bottom there and the depots for Dell and for VMware, which are outside. The manifest is handled differently with this version of the skip tool now, and that also means you've got complete offline mode as well. So we'll first run the -D option, and it is going to ask us the starting version we have on VCF and then which version we want to get to. And I can type in either a version number or I can type in latest version, as in the latest version of VCF available for downloading and upgrading to. And then based on that input I've typed into the skip level tool command, that manifest will then tell the skip tool exactly which bundles are needed to run that complete upgrade, and it'll just start downloading everything. So you can see that now happening from the VMware depot and the VxRail bundle also from the Dell depot. As I said, the -D command tells you all the bundles you need to download. It also tells you how much space you need to download. Now we need to copy those downloaded bundles into SDDC Manager. This time with the skip tool, we'll use the -C option. So all the bundles are transferred across firstly, like an SCP. And then the SDDC bundles are registered into the SDDC repository. Until you do that, the upgrade can't happen. So now SDDC knows about those bundles. Next we're going to run a bundle verification. So this is the skip tool with a -VB option or switch. It's a pre-check, and that verifies the bundles in SDDC Manager. It'll list if anything's missing. It's also a good time to run a pre-check within SDDC on the workload, and also to run a VxVerify for VxRail Manager. Now, if there were any bundles missing, then the VB option would have told you, and then you can just download that bundle separately. So now we're running the -U, which is the upgrade. A snapshot's taken of the SDDC Manager, and then the upgrade begins, and SDDC Manager will be taken through all those upgrades in order, back to all the bundles we downloaded earlier on. So the upgrade will start from your starting version and then end at whatever version you typed in, or the latest version. So when this part is complete, this then enables the actual skip to happen later with the other bundles, for example, the VxRail version, NSX, vCenter, and so on. At that stage later then, you're going to use the normal LCM process to upgrade those components I just mentioned, such as NSX, or the vCenters, and the VxRail. But this is actually where the skip now takes place, because of what happened previously when the SDDC Manager was taken through the consecutive upgrades. So let's now go through an offline scenario where you're on a secure, dark site. And in this case, you're going to have restrictions. You won't be able to connect to both the VCF VxRail system and the depots at the same time. You might be using two separate machines depending on the security level on this site, or you might be using a laptop. Let's assume here you've been given two separate machines to use. One to collect the bundles from the depot, and then a separate machine to run the upgrade. So again, we're running the Skip Level tool. We don't have to run the offline tool here. It'll again use the manifests and download everything you need in this offline scenario. If we are using two separate machines here, then we'll need to manually transfer those bundles across to the other machine we need to use for the later phases. If you're just using a laptop and you're allowed to move from the depots to the VCF VxRail system, then you're okay. So let's assume we've transferred everything across manually. And now we'll run the skip tool from the second jump or laptop. So now the bundles are copied over to the SDDC VM using the -C option. And then the VCF SDDC bundles are registered in the SDDC repository. We'll then run the VB option to run a verification, and that'll check all the bundles have been copied across, there's no issues there, and everything that needs to be there is. And then we can run the -U option, which is the upgrade. A snapshot's taken again of the SDDC Manager, and then the SDDC Manager is taken through every single upgrade to get from the source version to the target version. And once that's complete, the remaining bundles are then registered in the repository, and we can then run a normal lifecycle management operation to upgrade NSX, vCenter, VxRail, and so on. So there's not a huge amount of difference there with the offline and the online environments, in that you're using the skip tool. If you did use the older version of the skip tool, then you'll remember specifically for the offline environments, we had to use a mixture of tools such as WinSCP and the offline bundle transfer tool. And then we had to also manually manipulate file permissions and ownerships. All that's gone away, thankfully. And it's just much easier now, much better. So that's part one. And let's move over to part two now, where I'll start demonstrating how those switches work.